A tornado served as the show's deus ex machina in the last season of Fargo, which boldly switched to a black-and-white homage to The Wizard of Oz after 8 episodes of capering in a conized version of gangland Kansas City in the early 1950s. As of moving across a risk board, the show's creator, Noah Hawley, granted himself permission to claim yet another area of the heartland after moving it out of the Coen brothers' states of Minnesota and North Dakota. It wasn't even that off-brand. The Coens had closed A Serious Man with a Tornado too. As the new season is nearing its conclusion, Hawley makes a second appearance in Oz with a lengthy fantasy scene that skillfully explores Dot's past in a way that neither a typical monologue nor a flashback could. In addition, it pays more subdued homage than, say, dragging a tornado over Kansas in black and white. The connection isn't evident until Wayne makes up a story for Scotty about Dorothy and rainbows. Even still, there is an eerie quality to the episode, as Dot's past is powerfully depicted in a particularly vivid dream. That is the Fargo pancake's power. Dot will soon have a more thorough examination of her relationship with Roy and Gator. But before leaving town in her Kia with DLR plates, she stops at a truck stop for coffee and pancakes and loses herself in thought. At first, she looks at a billboard recipe for chicken piccata, which may be a reference to the recipe trading that Deputy Olmstead's husband encouraged her to undertake in order to be a real wife. Following her detour to retrieve a mysterious postcard from Camp Utopia from Linda, Dot keeps traveling till she comes upon the location's sign and her vehicle breaks down on the side of the road. It surprises Dot to find a big cabin full of ladies, sitting raptly before a puppet show, while the way to Camp Utopia is blanketed with fresh snow and leads into the forest. However, it's not the kind of fanciful show typical of a sleepaway camp. Rather, it's a portrayal of spousal abuse, which causes Dot to pass out. This is an uncommon instance of someone staying in a dream after collapsing. Dot says she's looking for a woman named Linda when she wakes up, only to find out that everyone is named Linda. She is informed that this is a women's shelter by Linda, Sorica Wolf, and that the shelter's general name serves as a basis for the occupants to begin reclaiming their identities. With all these Lindas, Camp Utopia sounds like a Barbie-land in a surrealistic universe. However, Dot is only interested in one Linda, Roy's ex-wife Linda Hillman, Terry Matchett, with whom Dot wants to resolve certain issues in order to continue her current marriage. Linda won't go until Dot's tale is decided upon by the other women through a different puppet play, and not until she has made a puppet that, according to what she's been informed, will expel the trauma by being attached to this representation. In actuality, it gives Dot's backstory a peculiar brightness that is reminiscent of Charlie Kaufman's Anomalisa stop-motion existentialism in that it applies a well-known method to a novel purpose. It appears reasonable to assume that the tragic narrative Dot recounts about herself is true, notwithstanding the unreality of Camp Utopia. Nadine was a stray 15-year-old who Linda found and brought into the Tillman house with Roy and Gator. However, Linda gently moved Roy, who was abusive, in Nadine's direction. Linda took advantage of Roy's advances toward her adolescent advances and ran away, trapping Nadine in her place. Although Dot has good reason to believe Linda is to blame for sending her to this awful fate, the true theme of the episode is Dot realizing Roy is the rightful recipient of her fury. Fargo twists the adage, "There's no place like home," in a terrible way as it clicks its heels and returns to reality. After a strange, or perhaps not so strange, accident, Dot finds herself back in the hospital under the supervision of Roy, the wrong husband, who seems to have required fate to accomplish what Munch and Gator were unable to. The episode ends on a cliffhanger, but understanding Dot's past makes Gator seem less like a naive baby-faced villain and more like a sensitive youngster who was the collateral damage in his father's relationships. Now that Munch is gone, Gator is stuck attempting to win over Daddy by eradicating him, which is nearly heartbreaking in its impossibility. In a certain circumstance, Gator might come to terms with his father's role in his tragic upbringing and side with the abused women who have lived in their home. However, Roy has a knack for setting his victims up against the mother, and Gator might not have a chance at redemption, with Munch waiting for him now in the weeds. At last, the elderly lady who has been boarding Munch comes to light. It doesn't appear like they came to a formal arrangement, because Munch seemed to regard himself as a guard dog that provided protection in exchange for payment. This entails chopping her awful son with an axe in the same manner as Geir Grimsrud, Peter Stormare, the movie's analog, kills his comrade Carl, Steve Buscemi. Because of his neurological impairment, Wayne is softer than usual, which makes his daughter Scotty happy as she needs the company and makes for amazing trade-in deals on his cat lot. It's a brilliant flip of the scene in the movie where Jerry pretends to beg his boss for a discount. He knows he will not receive for a disappointed client to have Wayne agree to a one-to-one trade-in for a new car. In a subsequent Coen callback, Gator employs the same tracking device on Munch's vehicle that Ed and Chicker, Javier Bardem, used in No Country for Old Men to find Llewellyn Moss, Josh Brolin, at a motel. The suspense in the show isn't nearly as high as in the movie, but it's still elevated.